What if the next 90 days determine the next 40 years of your life? Imagine waking up one morning realizing that the gap between who you are and who you want to become was never about talent, luck, or intelligence, but about discipline. Imagine discovering that almost everything you call potential is simply unused commitment waiting for a decision. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect time, the right mood, the clean calendar. But discipline does not wait. It shows up when it is uncomfortable, when it is boring, when nobody is watching. Here is the truth that almost nobody tells you: your life is already shaped by what you repeatedly do, not by what you occasionally dream about. 90 days is not a long time, yet it is long enough to rewire your habits, reset your standards, and redefine your identity. Think about this. In 90 days, your body can grow stronger or weaker. Your mind can become sharper or more distracted. Your confidence can expand or quietly disappear. The clock will move either way. The only question is whether you will move with it. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. If a camera followed you for the next 90 days, recording every promise you made to yourself and either kept or broke, would you be proud of what it captured? Or would you hope nobody ever pressed play? Discipline is not punishment. It is a form of self-respect. It is the decision to act according to the future you want, instead of the feelings you have right now. Feelings change. Vision must not. There is a story about a young man who wanted to run a marathon. The first morning his alarm rang at 5, his body argued with him. Stay warm, stay comfortable, skip today. But he got up anyway. Day 2 was harder. By day 10, the excitement was gone. By day 30, nobody was cheering. Yet something invisible was forming proof that he could trust himself. By day 60, running was no longer a battle, it was who he was. And when the marathon arrived, the race was not won on that day. It was won in the quiet mornings when quitting would have been easier. So here is the invitation. For the next 90 days, stop negotiating with the smaller version of you. Decide your standard, protect your time, and keep the promises you make in private. Because if you can master 90 days of discipline, you will not just change a season of your life, you will change the direction of it forever. Start today, start before you feel ready. Begin now. Do it anyway. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is about intensity, about dramatic change, about waking up one day and becoming someone entirely new. But discipline is rarely loud. It is quiet, repetitive, almost invisible. It is choosing the harder right instead of the easier wrong again and again until the choice no longer feels hard. There is a dangerous myth that success comes from giant moments. One connection. One lucky opportunity. Yet when you study people who build extraordinary lives, you notice something different. Their advantage is not a single decision, it is thousands of small ones stacked together. Picture a pilot adjusting a plane by just a few degrees. From the ground, the shift is unnoticeable. But over time, that tiny correction determines whether the plane lands in the right city or hundreds of miles away. Your daily habits work the same way. A slight improvement repeated consistently creates a completely different destination. Discipline begins with clarity. If you do not know where you are going, your emotions will happily choose the easiest road. So ask yourself, who must I become in the next 90 days? Not what do I want to achieve, but who do I need to be? A person who trains even when tired. A person who studies when distracted. A person who finishes what they start. Once you answer that, something powerful happens. Discipline stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like alignment. You are no longer forcing yourself forward. You are becoming the person capable of carrying the future you desire. Expect resistance. The brain is designed to keep you safe, not to make you great. It prefers familiar discomfort over unfamiliar growth. That is why the moment you decide to change, you will hear an internal whisper telling you to slow down, to postpone, to begin tomorrow. Recognize that voice, but do not obey it. Instead, shrink the battlefield. Do not promise perfection. Promise consistency. Show up even if the effort is small, because small actions build identity. And identity is what makes discipline sustainable. Every kept promise becomes evidence. Evidence builds confidence. Confidence fuels momentum. And momentum turns discipline into freedom, the freedom to live by design rather than by default. So over the next 90 days, measure your success by one question each night. Did I honor the person I said I would become today? If the answer is yes, rest with pride. If the answer is no, adjust without shame. Then rise again tomorrow, steady, focused, and unwilling to betray your own future. No retreat. Keep moving forward. Let me tell you something that may challenge the way you see yourself. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals are inspiring, yes, they give direction. But systems are what carry you forward on the days when inspiration disappears. And it will disappear. Not once, not twice, but many times during these 90 days. Think about how most people approach change. They rely on emotion. When they feel excited, they work hard. When they feel tired, they negotiate. When they feel discouraged, they step back. But discipline asks for something higher than emotion. It asks for structure. Because when you build a system, you remove the daily debate. You no longer wake up asking, do I feel like it? You wake up knowing, this is what I do. Consider the architect who designs a bridge. The beauty of the bridge is not what keeps it standing, it is the invisible structure beneath it. Your life is no different. Without structure, ambition collapses under pressure. With structure, even ordinary effort becomes powerful. Start simple. Choose a consistent wake-up time. Protect the first hour of your morning. What you do in that hour quietly shapes the tone of your entire day. If you begin rushed, distracted, reacting to everyone else's demands, You surrender control before the day even begins. But if you begin intentionally, with movement, reflection, learning, planning, you step into the day as its author, not its victim. Then decide the 3 actions that matter most, not 10, not 23. Discipline is not about doing everything. It is about refusing to neglect what matters most. When you complete those actions, you create a psychological victory that carries energy into everything else. Now here is where many people stumble. They underestimate boredom. Excellence is often boring. Repetition is boring. Practice is boring. Yet boredom is not the enemy, it is the proving ground. Anyone can act with enthusiasm once. Discipline is revealed in repetition. There will be mornings when progress feels invisible. Days when the scale does not move, the business does not grow, the skill does not sharpen as quickly as you hoped. In those moments, remember this: see, results lag behind effort. Always. The work you do today is depositing to a future you cannot yet see. So trust the system before you trust the evidence. Show up before the reward arrives. Because somewhere along the way, almost without noticing, the disciplined actions you once forced will become automatic. And when that happens, you will realize you are no longer chasing success. You are operating like the person who naturally attracts it. There is a moment in every transformation that nobody applauds. A moment when the excitement fades, the progress feels slow, and the voice in your head begins to question the entire journey. This is the moment that separates interest from commitment. Interest shows up when it is convenient. Commitment stays when it is uncomfortable. Understand this clearly: the first 30 days are not about results. They are about breaking your old identity. For years, you have practiced being the current version of yourself. Every habit, every excuse, every delay has strengthened that identity. So when you attempt to change, do not expect the old version of you to quietly step aside. It will resist, not because you are weak, but because patterns are powerful. Imagine trying to bend a thick piece of metal. 1 push will not move it. 10 pushes may not either, but steady pressure over time reshapes what once seemed unchangeable. Discipline works with the same quiet force. Each time you choose growth over comfort, you weaken the grip of your former self. Let me share a story. There was a woman who decided to reclaim her health after years of neglecting it. The first week, she felt unstoppable. She bought the shoes, planned the meals, mapped the workouts. By week 3, reality arrived. Her legs ached. Her schedule felt crowded. Nobody noticed her effort. One rainy morning, she sat in her car outside the gym and thought, skipping today will not matter. And she was right. Once would not matter. But she also knew something deeper. The decision was never about one workout. It was about the kind of person she was becoming. So she stepped out of the car, walked through the rain, and trained anyway. That day did not transform her body. It transformed her self-trust. Self-trust is the hidden reward of discipline. When you repeatedly do what you said you would do, you stop doubting yourself. And when doubt fades, courage grows naturally. You no longer ask, can I handle this? You begin to say, I handle hard things. That is who I am. But I expect the second month to test you differently. Not with dramatic obstacles, but with monotony. The routine will feel ordinary. Dangerous thoughts will appear. Maybe this is enough, or maybe I can relax now. Be careful. Average is always inviting you back. Instead, raise your standard again. Do not confuse familiarity with mastery. Stay sharp. Stay intentional. Because the person who can remain disciplined after the novelty fades is the person who ultimately separates themselves from the crowd. Keep going. You are closer than you think. By the time you reach the middle of these 90 days, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. The struggle is no longer just external. It becomes deeply internal. You are no longer fighting the alarm clock, the workload, or the distractions around you. You are confronting the limits you once believed were permanent. And this is where real growth begins. At the edge of what you thought you could endure. Most people stop here, not because they are incapable, but because progress at this stage demands patience without immediate reward. Early effort often brings quick wins, but lasting change requires you to continue long after the applause would have faded, even if there was never any applause to begin with. Discipline matures in silence. Think of a bamboo tree. For years after it is planted, nothing visible happens above the ground. You water it, nurture it, protect it, and still the soil looks unchanged. Many would assume the effort is wasted, but beneath the surface, an intricate root system is spreading wider and deeper, building the strength required to support sudden explosive growth. Then one season, almost unbelievably, the bamboo shoots upward, sometimes several feet in mere weeks. Your discipline is building roots right now. Every focused hour, every completed task, every moment you refuse to quit is stabilizing the future you are preparing to step into. Do not dig up your progress just because you cannot see it yet. There is another challenge that appears around this time: comparison. You will look around and notice someone moving faster, earning more, learning quicker. Comparison whispers a dangerous lie that you are behind. But behind whom? Everyone is running a different race with different starting lines, different obstacles, different timelines. Discipline requires that you keep your eyes on your own path. The moment you measure your worth against someone else's chapter, you distract yourself from writing your own. Let me remind you of something essential: consistency beats intensity. A single day of extreme effort cannot compete with steady, repeated action. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. Show up on the days you feel strong, and show up especially on the days you feel ordinary. Greatness is built mostly on ordinary days handled extraordinarily well, and begin to notice how your language changes. Instead of saying, I have to, you start saying, I choose to. That shift is not small. It is the sound of ownership. Victims have obligations. Leaders make choices. So if today feels slow, good. Slow means you are still in the process. Stay rooted. Stay focused, because soon the growth you cannot yet see will become impossible for the world to ignore. Now you are entering a phase that very few people ever experience, not because it is impossible, but because it demands a higher level of personal leadership. Somewhere between day 45 and 60, discipline stops feeling like something you force and starts becoming something you embody. You begin to notice that the decisions which once drained your energy now happen almost automatically. And when that happens, you are no longer just practicing discipline. You are becoming disciplined, but do not relax too soon. This stage carries a hidden danger: complacency. Success, even in small amounts, can trick you into lowering your guard. You might think, I have proven I can do this. And while that is true, discipline is not a destination you arrive at once. It is a standard you protect daily. The moment you stop protecting it, old habits wait patiently for an invitation to return. Picture a championship team that wins a title and then assumes talent alone will carry them forward. The following season, they train a little less intensely. Their focus softens. Their preparation becomes casual. Meanwhile, hungrier teams study harder, practice longer, and compete with urgency. Eventually, the champions are no longer champions, not because they lost ability, but because they lost discipline. Stay hungry. Hunger is not desperation. It is awareness that your future still requires your effort. The discipline do not say, look how far I have come, and then coast. They say, look how far I have come. Now imagine how far I can go. Around this time, you will also notice something remarkable happening inside your mind. Your tolerance for discomfort has expanded. Tasks that once intimidated you now feel manageable. Challenges that once triggered doubt now spark curiosity. You stop asking, why is this so hard? And begin asking, what is this teaching me? That question alone transforms obstacles into training grounds. Let me share a perspective that can change everything. Discipline is a form of self-love, not the soft, indulgent kind, but the courageous kind that refuses to let you remain smaller than your potential. Every time you honor your commitments, you send yourself a powerful message: my future matters. Over time, that message rewires how you see yourself. Confidence is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you carry. People around you will start to notice the shift. Maybe they will comment on your focus, your consistency, your calm determination. Some will be inspired. Others may not understand. Remember, when you change your standards, you quietly challenge the standards of those around you. Stay respectful, but do not shrink to make others comfortable. Keep tightening your routines. Protect your environment. Guard your time with intention, because the discipline you are strengthening today is preparing you for opportunities you cannot yet see. Opportunities that will demand the very strength you are building right now. Somewhere around day 60, a powerful realization begins to surface: discipline is no longer costing you as much as it used to. What once felt like sacrifice now feels like alignment. You are not constantly arguing with yourself anymore. The internal battle has quieted, and in its place stands something stronger: personal authority. You start trusting your decisions faster. You hesitate less. You act with clarity. But this is also the stage where life will test whether your discipline is conditional or permanent. Because just when you find your rhythm, something unexpected will try to interrupt it. A difficult week, an emotional setback, extra responsibilities, fatigue that seems deeper than usual. These moments are not interruptions to your journey, they are the curriculum. Anyone can stay disciplined when life is predictable. Mastery is revealed when life is not. Think about a ship crossing the ocean. Calm waters do not make a great captain. Storms do. When the waves rise and the wind resists, the captain does not panic or abandon the wheel. They rely on training, on instruments, on discipline. Your habits are those instruments. They keep you pointed toward your destination even when visibility drops. There will be a day when you wake up and everything inside you says, not today. On that day, reduce the scale if you must, but do not break the pattern. If your usual effort is an hour, give 20 minutes. If you plan 10 repetitions, do 5. Discipline is less about the size of the action and more about the integrity of the habit. Once you protect the pattern, intensity can always return. But when the pattern breaks, restarting becomes psychologically heavier than continuing. Let me tell you about a writer who committed to producing 1 page every single day. Some days inspiration flowed, and she wrote 5 pages effortlessly. Other days she stared at the blank screen, exhausted, tempted to close the laptop. On those days, she wrote 1 paragraph. It was not impressive, but it was consistent. A year later, she did not just have pages, she had a finished manuscript. Not because she was always brilliant, but because she was always present. Presence is your power now. Stay engaged with the process instead of obsessing over the finish line. Ironically, the people who focus entirely on results often lose momentum, while those who respect the daily practice arrive at the result almost as a byproduct. Also notice how your standards are rising. Things you once tolerated, chronic lateness, scattered focus, half-finished work, begin to feel incompatible with who you are becoming. This is growth. Do not apologize for it. When your standards rise, your life follows. So when the storm comes, and it will, do not ask for easier waves. Become a steadier captain. Hold the wheel. Trust your training. And remind yourself that you are only 30 days away from proving something most people never prove, that you can rely on yourself no matter the conditions. Now you are stepping into the final third of the 90 days. And whether you fully realize it or not, You are not the same person who began this journey. At the start, discipline was something you were trying to practice. Now it is becoming part of your identity. And identity is powerful because once you see yourself differently, you start living differently without needing constant reminders. But listen carefully, because this stage carries one of the quietest traps of all, the temptation to ease up just before the transformation is complete. Human nature loves to celebrate early. You begin to feel stronger, more focused, more in control, and a small voice suggests you have done enough. That voice sounds harmless, even reasonable. Yet many people drift backward in this exact moment, not through failure, but through gradual relaxation. Discipline does not disappear dramatically, it fades through small permissions. Guard against that. Finish with the same intensity you used to begin. In fact, finish stronger. Anyone can start motivated. Very few know how to close with purpose. Consider the runner approaching the final stretch of a long race. The crowd is louder now. The finish line is visible. Every muscle burns, and the body begs to slow down. But great runners do something counterintuitive. They lean forward and accelerate. Why? Because they understand that the final stretch is where the race is truly decided. It is not just about finishing. It is about finishing with everything they have left. This is your final stretch mentality. Do not coast toward the version of yourself you have been building. Charge toward it. Let these last 30 days become proof of your resilience. When fatigue speaks, answer with focus. When doubt whispers, respond with action. You may also notice another shift happening internally. Your relationship with discomfort has changed. What once felt threatening now feels instructive. You no longer interpret hard days as signs to stop, you interpret them as signals that growth is underway. That mental reframing is the hallmark of disciplined individuals. They do not avoid pressure, they use it. And something else is quietly emerging: self-respect at a deeper level than you may have ever experienced. Not the fragile kind that depends on praise, but the grounded kind built from evidence. You kept showing up. You followed through. You honored your word when nobody was tracking your effort. That is how unshakable confidence is formed, privately, consistently, deliberately. Look back for a moment. Remember the hesitation you felt at the beginning, the internal negotiations, the uncertainty about whether you would sustain this. Now look at how you move. There is more certainty in you, more stability, more intention. So as these final weeks unfold, raise your awareness. Protect what you have built. Do not slip into autopilot. Stay deliberate, because you are closer than ever to crossing a line that, once crossed, makes returning to your old life almost impossible. You are now standing within reach of something most people only talk about but rarely experience: personal proof. Not borrowed confidence, not temporary motivation, but undeniable evidence that you can command your actions even when your emotions disagree. These final days are not just about completing a challenge. They are about sealing a new identity. There is a psychological phenomenon that appears near the end of any demanding journey. The mind, sensing relief is close, begins to loosen its grip. It says, you made it this far. Missing one day will not matter. Slowing down is harmless. Be careful here, because discipline is often lost in the final miles, not the first. The finish line does not reward the fastest starter. It honors the strongest finisher. Think about a mountain climber approaching the summit. After hours of ascent, the peak is finally visible. Exhaustion is real. Oxygen is thinner. Every step demands more focus than the last. Yet experienced climbers understand something critical. The summit is not the moment to become careless. In fact, it is the moment to become even more deliberate. One distracted step near the top can undo an entire climb. So tighten your awareness. These days require intention. Do not drift through them casually just because you are proud of how far you have come. Pride is healthy when it fuels consistency, but dangerous when it invites complacency. Stay humble enough to keep doing the work. Ask yourself a deeper question now: what has truly changed? Yes, your habits are stronger. Your focus is sharper. But the greatest transformation is this: you have rewritten the story you tell yourself about who you are. Once, you may have wondered whether you had the discipline to follow through. Now you know. And knowledge built from action carries a quiet certainty that nothing external can easily shake. Notice how decision-making has become cleaner. You spend less time negotiating with distractions and more time executing what matters. That mental clarity is not accidental, it is trained. Every disciplined day reduced the noise and strengthened your inner compass. Also recognize that people around you are watching, even if they never say a word. Consistency is magnetic. It challenges others to examine their own standards. Some will feel inspired by your example. Others may question it. Either response is a reminder that disciplined living is noticeable. You no longer blend into the background of average effort. As you move through these final days, do not focus only on completion. Focus on elevation. Raise your posture, your energy, your expectations of yourself. Walk like someone who keeps promises. Speak like someone who follows through. Think like someone who understands that discipline is not something you attempt. It is something you live. You are not approaching the end of a 90-day experiment. You are approaching the beginning of a lifetime standard. So finish this climb with care, with strength, and with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the view from the top is earned step by disciplined step. This is it. The final day, the last step, the moment where all the effort, struggle, and persistence converge. Look back for just a second. Remember day one, the hesitation, the doubts, the internal arguments that nearly stopped you before you even began. Now compare it to today. The person who shows up no matter what, the person who has honored their word to themselves. The person who has quietly built something stronger than motivation alone could ever create. Here is the truth you have proven: 90 days of disciplined action is not a temporary experiment. It is a declaration of who you are willing to become. And that declaration will outlive the excitement, outlast the discomfort, and outpace the randomness of luck or circumstance. You are now the person who delivers consistently, even when it is inconvenient, boring, or exhausting. Think about what has really happened inside you. Your habits are no longer fragile. Your focus no longer wavers. Your confidence is no longer borrowed from external validation. You have trained yourself to act in alignment with your vision. And that alignment is the invisible force that will carry you forward for the rest of your life. But do not make the mistake of thinking the work ends today. Discipline is not a finish line. It is a standard you now carry. The difference is this: the standard has been proven. You have evidence. You know what you are capable of. And because you know, quitting or compromising on your future becomes increasingly unacceptable. Here is the final lesson: life will always test you. But now you have proof that you can rise to the challenge. You have faced the monotony, the temptation, the pain, the distraction, and you have chosen to persist. That is not luck. That is strength. That is carried as identity. Every step, every small victory, every moment you refuse to surrender has built more than discipline. It has built freedom. Freedom from doubt. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from the invisible chains of inconsistency that hold most people back. You are now equipped to live intentionally, to act decisively, and to shape the next chapter of your life with clarity and purpose. And here is the promise: the next 90 days, the next year, the next decade, you carry this with you. The lessons, the habits, the mindset, all remain ready to compound into extraordinary results. What you did in these 90 days is proof that your future is yours to command. So stand tall, breathe deep, celebrate quietly, knowing that the greatest reward is not applause, but the unwavering knowledge that you can rely on yourself. You started with a question, you end with certainty. And from here on, nothing can undo what 90 days of discipline has permanently built inside you. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a lifetime of success.